Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. My name is Wilson Parker, and I'm a professor in the law school and president of the Faculty Senate. We welcome you to this forum sponsored by the Senate, at which President Hatch will give us his annual State of the University address. President Hatch is familiar to all of us, and I will just briefly recount some of the highlights of his career. He grew up in Columbia, South Carolina, where his father was a Presbyterian minister. He graduated from Wheaton College in Illinois and then received his master's and doctoral degrees from Washington University in St. Louis. He proceeded to study with postdoctoral fellowships at Harvard and Johns Hopkins and joined the faculty at Notre Dame in 1975. He was named provost, the university's second highest ranking position, in 1996. A Presbyterian, he was the first Protestant to ever serve in that position at Notre Dame. Throughout his career, he has been an active leader in American higher education, most recently serving as chair of the Division I Board of Directors of the NCAA, where he led the transformative restructuring of the top division's governance system. In 2014, President Hatch was honored by his election to the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. President Hatch joined the Wake Forest community in 2005. He has just concluded his 10th year as president, and today will share his thoughts with us as he recounts his tenure to date, analyzes our current situation, and anticipates our future. I give you President Hatch.
Thank you, Wilson, and thanks to the Senate for hosting this annual event. Good afternoon, colleagues and friends. Julie has often suggested that the best things have come into our lives as a matter of surprise. That happened when, as a nervous graduate student finishing my doctorate at Washington University, I was offered, sort of out of the blue it seemed, a postdoctoral fellowship in history at Johns Hopkins. Even more surprising, as Wilson noted, a year later, this son of the South and a Protestant to boot was offered a job teaching early American history at Notre Dame. And possibly the most surprising thing was in 1996, when Father Edward Malloy, the president of Notre Dame, asked me to serve as provost, and it was indeed an honor to serve in that position for 9 years at Notre Dame. When, in the fall of 2004, I was contacted about the presidency of Wake Forest, it came as another surprise. I had known about Wake growing up in the Carolinas and having had several relatives attend Wake Forest. And I did remember in junior high watching Lenny Chappell and Billy Packer play against the University of South Carolina in Columbia in basketball. I had met Tom Hearn once, but actually I knew surprisingly little about the current state of Wake Forest. Julie and I came to Winston-Salem for a confidential visit very early in January 2005. We left snowy South Bend and arrived comfortably in Winston-Salem, being met by a member of the search committee, Michelle Gillespie, and her husband, Kevin. The next morning, we stepped out of the front door of Grayling and greeted blue sky, bright sunshine, and temperature in the 70s. This was January. No other sale pitches were needed about Winston-Salem as a place to live. What did we find? Julie and I have been richly blessed to call Wake Forest and Winston-Salem our home for the last decade. We found tremendous warmth and hospitality. We were welcomed with open arms by trustees, alumni, faculty, staff, and students. The whole community could not have been more accommodating. We've never regretted that decision for a moment. It's been a great privilege to serve this institution, except within months of taking the job, there was one pause when Chris Paul decided to leave Wake Forest, what would have been a top 10 team, and go immediately to the NBA. What we found at Wake Forest was a very strong foundation. There was something important, even magical, about this place. That magic has to do with quality and rigorous education, combined with real personal attention and community, and one in which values are genuinely upheld and students called to higher purpose. Wake Forest today. Today, Wake Forest is a university with considerable momentum. We have never been a more attractive place for undergraduate education. We have grown in quality and diversity even as we have expanded our student body. Our national reach continues to grow. We have invested in first-generation students with the creation of the Magnolia Scholars Program. We have clarified our identity as a collegiate university through a comprehensive strategic plan and a campus master plan. We have joined 2 small and underfunded business schools into one school with far more compelling vision. And we have aligned our medical school and the North Carolina Baptist Hospital so that together, as a single entity, we could face the ongoing headwinds in medical care, research, and education. Over the course of the last 10 years, Wake Forest College and each of our professional schools has experienced significant academic advance. This comes in the form of interdisciplinary programs, national grant funding, publications, faculty awards, national rankings, bold decisions, student performances, and donor-sponsored initiatives. One of our great strengths is the quality of our academic leaders. A team enriched this fall by the addition of 3 wonderful leaders: Michelle Gillespie as Dean of the College, Suzanne Reynolds as Dean of the Wake Forest Law School, and Tim Pyatt as Dean of the Z. Smith Reynolds Library. The college. In the undergraduate college, we have taken seriously our charge to create interdisciplinary academic programs. The last 10 years, we have added nearly 20 interdisciplinary minors. And that means that the work of the faculty is spread widely across campus. For example, the anthropology department faculty contributes to 12 different interdisciplinary minors. We have made mentored student research a priority through the work of the Undergraduate Research and Creative Activity Center, Eureka. Now more than 150 mentored students present projects annually, and more than $300,000 in research support is spread across all 5 divisions of the college. Eureka is also entirely supported by philanthropic dollars. Additionally, last year we won our first Beckman Award for Science Education, joining other winners, Yale, Duke, and MIT. Many of our best academic efforts stand at the intersection of innovative teaching, scholarship, and engagement. For example, we created the START Gallery as a place where we combine teaching, learning, and student engagement. We currently have the nation's 2nd highest proportion of undergraduates studying abroad for credit. The work of the Humanities Institute encourages innovative programs in public humanities, narrative medicine, and digital humanities. We have made a home for Pro Humanitate by the creating of the Pro Humanitate Institute and have incorporated that into our educational offerings, including the religion and public engagement concentration. Our students continue to be awarded prestigious honors like the Rhodes Scholarship, the Marshall Scholarship, the Gates Cambridge Scholarship, the Fulbright Award, Truman Scholarship, and the Goldwater Scholarship. And behind those achievements are our faculty, who are consistently ranked among the top 15 schools in the nation in teaching. This year we ranked 10th, our highest ever in that category. The Business School. The Business School made a bold move, merging the undergraduate and graduate programs under one roof at Farrell Hall. In the last decade, we have seen the creation of the MA in Management. We're beginning a new program in Analytics, as well as 3 research and curricular reform centers: the Center for the Study of Capitalism, the Center for Leadership and Character, and the Center for Retail Innovation. Our business students continue to show the value of this education. Wake Forest students won the KPMG Global Case Competition 2 years in a row to remain the only American university to win the international title. And for the past 5 consecutive years, and for a total of 8 out of 9, Wake Forest business students have ranked #1 in the nation in the CPA candidate exam passage rate. The Divinity School. The school was named to a list of 25 seminaries that changed the world recently and has grown in significant waves over the past decade. Just last year, the school was awarded a prestigious Lilly Endowment Fund to strengthen the pastoral and civic leadership of early career clergy. Students have the option to pursue interdisciplinary concentrations in well-being and religious leadership, education, and sustainability. And in a community and a state that contends with the issue of food scarcity, the Divinity School created the Food, Faith, and Religious Leadership Initiative to equip students with the knowledge, skills, and experience to lead transformative change. At the graduate school, we explored how to make our educational delivery system suitable for distance learners by creating the online graduate program in counseling. We've also started the graduate program in documentary film studies, and with it, launched wrought iron productions. We added graduate programs in interpreting and translational studies, biomedical studies, and sustainability. And thanks in part for the $6 million federal grant, the largest ever awarded in the college, our graduate students will be working with Professors Steve Messier, Shannon Mahalko, and Gary Miller to further study knee osteoarthritis and successful treatment measures in a community-based setting. At the law school, we seriously considered what engaging the community through legal education might look like. In response to that question, the law school has created several clinics that serve poor or low-wealth clients. The Elder Law Clinic, for instance, just received a grant to help address the elder law needs of the LGBTQ community. The Micro Trade Clinic is helping cooperatives in Nicaragua sell their products to an international community. In addition, law faculty engage in some of the most important issues of our time. The United Nations commissioned Professor John Knox as special rapporteur on human rights and the environment, one of only 2 Americans to receive that kind of a prestigious appointment. And while the law school engages the community, its graduates stay focused. The Wake Forest Law Class of 2015 led all law schools in North Carolina in bar passage rates for the 2015 bar exam. While we have seen the work of individuals and programs transform the classroom and beyond, I think of the Character Project with Christian Miller and his team, Miles Silliman's ecological biology work, the renewal of the study of classics through innovative teaching of Ted Geller-Goad and Michael Sloan, Danny Kim Shapiro's sickle cell research, Christina Soriano's dance and Parkinson's project, and the Translational Science Center's conception to marketing of Unbeatable Performance Drink. Have you had your beet juice today? The accomplishment and advancement in academics over the course of the past date are exciting, and I look forward to how our past achievements will inspire our faculty and students to move forward. We've also renewed the campus in substantial ways, building Byram Hall, a new admissions and welcome center, constructing the new business school, and remodeling and move ahead with a new home for the Department of Health and Exercise Science. A major remodeling of Worrell Hall is giving a new sense of identity and community in the law school. I think that's... Sorry. The age of digital technology. Don't know what set that off. So Worrell Hall has been successfully remodeled, and new additional space has been found for the Divinity School. We have reinforced campus culture with a first-year residence hall, South Hall, with the barn, new eating venues like Zick's, 2 Starbucks, Einstein's Bagels, and a whole new eating commons on the North Campus. We've added a 3-year housing requirement and greatly enhanced the quantity and quality of upper division residences with the conversion of the 10 North Campus apartments from faculty and staff to student use, and with the construction of the Dogwood and Magnolia residence halls. At long last, we have begun the remodeling of Reynolds Gym into what will become a state-of-the-art well-being center. And we are tackling the overdue remodeling of residence halls built in the 1950s. Beginning with the construction of Deacon Tower, the purchase of baseball and basketball arenas, we've developed a comprehensive athletic campus that now encompasses football, baseball, tennis, and basketball. We have developed substantial efforts in making our campus sustainable and in providing serious leadership development through our Fellows Program. We have reordered our efforts in development and building the infrastructure for the capital campaign Wake Will, and in developing a state-of-the-art communication and external relations department. And we have developed an innovative approach to endowment management with the creation of Verger Capital Management. For all this and more, I am deeply grateful to the entire Wake Forest community, to so many of you in this room, but also to the board, all the faculty and staff, the students and the alumni, and the colleagues in administration with whom I'm privileged to serve. What I'd like to do now is say why and how has Wake Forest made this progress, and give several reasons why I think that's the case. First is clarifying who we are. I think Wake Forest has come to tell its story in a more national context. We have moved more into the mainstream of American higher education. In that stream, we're able to say why our distinct approach to education has compelling worth. Our distinctives, rightly articulated, address pressing needs in our culture. Education that is demanding and supportive, in which adults actually are interested in individual young people. We have not shied away from speaking of character formation and of developing specific programs that connect who students are with what they might do professionally. We have worked consciously to make the campus more diverse and a place where students learn the art of conversation. In some areas, we are deeply traditional, as in maintaining the ideal of teacher scholars and not just saying pell-mell we're going to be the next greatest research university. But in many ways, we are highly innovative. We have clarified the central purposes of a collegiate university, and I think articulated that message to a broader audience. 10 years ago, I found the mission and identity of this institution, who we were, where we were going. It was assumed and not very well articulated. Wake Forest knew that it was a great place with a strong tradition, but it was almost as if you had to be here to know what it was. I think today we're in a much stronger position to clarify who we are and why a Wake Forest education can be vitally important for students in the early 21st century. A second reason that I think we have made progress is underscoring our distinctives. We have underscored our distinctives. We've not necessarily tried to play catch up to someone else. Our goal has been a better Wake Forest. Jim Collins, in his short monograph on not-for-profit organizations, calls for them to establish a pocket of greatness, something we are deeply passionate about and can do better than others. It is plausible for Wake Forest to aim at such things as the following: to become the best at combining academic quality with robust support and personal attention, to become the premier face-to-face college residential experience, to become a place thoroughly diverse where students learn the art of conversation, to become the best at preparation for life after graduation. Another of these distinctives is to sustain and enhance a real community of learning and engagement in which people generally care for each other. That has great currency in contemporary America because I think it is in increasingly short supply. We live in a culture that is increasingly impersonal, market-driven, and achievement-oriented. A recent study in the American Sociological Review notes that Americans today have a third fewer close friends and confidants than just 2 decades ago, a sign that people may be living lonelier, more isolated lives. 1 in 4 persons in the study had no close friends at all, up from 1 in 10 in 1985. A community that is both rigorous and caring can be an oasis in a parched culture. In speaking about our communication with the broader world, I would be remiss if I did not mention the amazing job done in recent years by the Communication and External Relations team in our Office of Advancement. Their goal is simple: to keep the world engaged with the story of Wake Forest. And to that, at that end, they have been exceptional on many fronts. In admissions materials, alumni engagement, the Wake Will campaign, news stories, and for so many different offices across campus. The work has been creating, inviting, and often funny. I'm grateful to the entire CER team, to Vice President Mark Peterson, Brett Eaton, Hayes Henderson, Katie Neal, and all that team that have really been superb. A third reason is addressing difficult issues. When I arrived, there was a serious morale problem among faculty. There was a broad sense that academics were not central priorities here, and I could understand that frustration when I learned how decisions were made about resources. The provost and the deans and the Office of Student Affairs, in fact, had little budgetary authority. The issue of faculty salaries was the most pressing issue to be faced, and the topic of any faculty meeting that I attended. This became an early priority, and my first development goal was a $10 million presidential trust for faculty excellence, which the goal we met. We simply had to restore the reality that at Wake Forest academics were at the center of life. I'm pleased that we are well on our way to also meeting our goal of 10 new presidential endowed chairs, the most recent goal, and overall the Wake Will campaign has raised some $56 million in faculty support. We also worked to combine 2 small underfunded business schools. Shortly after arriving, I had 3 distinguished deans from around the country come in, look at our 2 schools, and make their advice. I can remember the day they came to my office and said, they really should be put together. We don't know how it can be done. Later, we did make the decision to move forward with a common dean, although at the time the exact configuration of the 2 schools was not clear. Steve Reineman became dean in 2008 and set a transformative course for management education here at Wake Forest. We created a single business school, a fresh business model, and a whole new set of programs, clarified the purpose, and we expanded our engagement significantly in Charlotte. Another tough decision, and it was a key platform of our strategic plan, was to expand enrollment by 500 students. That decision was made before the downturn, 2008, but it came, the growth in the number of undergraduate students came at the exact time of the downturn. And I cannot tell you how important it was to keep Wake Forest's momentum. We cut no faculty positions. We were able to grow academic life at the same time that many others were sharply cutting back. In the words of Reed Morgan, using a NASCAR metaphor, we were able to pass others doing a caution lap. The toughest challenge of all was the 3-year process of putting our medical school under common management with the North Carolina Baptist Hospital. That task took great patience and endurance, and I'm deeply grateful to Wake Forest trustees who shepherded this process along, people like Murray Greason, Marvin Gentry, the late Graham Denton, Don Flo, Donna Boswell, and of course our own Reed Morgan. And I'm delighted that John McConnell is here today, who has done so much to make that common entity a reality. While speaking of difficult issues, I did want to address the substantial challenge the university now faces in making this the kind of inclusive place in which every member of our community feels at home. In the last decade, we have greatly diversified the student body. We have invested in support services for underrepresented students in multicultural affairs and religious life, including for Muslim and Jewish students, and to support the LGBTQ community. We have increased substantially the number of Pell-eligible students. We have made large investments in diversity and in unexpected places. For instance, in the business school, our MA program is probably the most diverse in higher education. But we are on a journey, learning along the way as we attempt to make this a genuinely inclusive campus. Last year, it was a time of conflict and promise as we took a close look at our campus climate. Concerns about inequitable police practicing and the differential experiences of international students and students of color led us to offer a deliberative dialogue on community last fall, and other groups put forward recommendations during the spring. Those powerful aspirations led to the creation of a set of action teams which comprised students, faculty, and staff that sifted through all of these ideas and came up with strategic directions to pursue, many of those already accomplished. We have worked hard and will continue to work on issues affecting the LGBTQ community, on policing practices, on enhanced preschool and orientation sessions, and on curricular diversity. A new website has been established to take note of what is being done. That site is called Our Community in Progress. But we are certainly not done. I invite you to consider how you can be a part of the many ongoing initiatives we have to help Wake Forest live out its commitment to be a diverse and inclusive community. Let me stop and thank so many who were involved in those efforts throughout last year. I can't mention everyone, but our Chief Diversity Officer, Barbie Oakes, Penny Rue, Rogan Kirsch, Lynn Sutton, our Dean of Students, Adam Goldstein, and Professor Melissa Harris Perry invested huge amount of time and energy in these efforts. A fourth reason that I think we've been able to make progress, I call an entrepreneurial spirit. John Lombardi, the former president of the University of Florida, once noted that absent a strong drive for change, most institutions stay more or less as they are, stable, competitive at their level, but unlikely to move dramatically without significant and unusual impetus. I think we at Wake Forest have championed a set of new ventures during these years, opportunities that have brought new life and energy to the organization. And let me just mention a number of them. We've seen a whole raft of new ventures prosper. Under the leadership of Martha Almond, Wake Forest became test optional. Andy Chan developed the Office of Personal and Career Development, likely the finest such program in the country. Nate French has been a great leader for our Magnolia Scholars Program. Maria Henson, a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, returned to Wake Forest and has transformed the Wake Forest magazine. Mary Pugil and Mary Beth Wallace launched the Wake Forest Fellows Program, engaging some of our finest graduates in a year of leadership development and service to alma mater. Lynn Sutton revitalized Reynolds Library, creating a model of service engagement and downright fun. Dee Dee Johnson has been a wonderful catalyst for sustainability. Andrea Ellis has given shape and momentum to our Professional Development Center. Angela Mazaris, the founding director of our LGBTQ Center, has been a firm advocate and a creative leader. Led by Malika Roman Isler, our cross-campus initiative in well-being, which we call Thrive, promises to strengthen the overall well-being of this campus as individuals and as a community. Using our splendid new Charlotte facilities, Todd Johnson has built an impressive array of programs for young professionals and this past summer for talented high school students. Allison Perkins has done a marvelous job developing assets of Renewal House, and in her new role as Associate Provost can integrate the Renewal Gardens into a more coherent vision of historic Renewal. And building on a wonderful tradition in intercollegiate debate, Jared Atchison has led our teams to national championships in all 3 divisions of debate. I could go on, and I'm sure there are glaring things that I left out, but I think the kind of energy, dynamism, and innovation that we see is heartening and is very auspicious for our future. The 5th reason I would give, I call the middle ground. When one thinks of scale and orientation, it is interesting to think of Wake Forest as enjoying a middle ground. We draw upon the strengths of a residential liberal arts college and the dynamism of a research university. We are regionally rooted and nationally expansive at the same time. And this year, as part of our 10-year reaccreditation process, we are again enhancing an already strong international program of study. Let me stop to acknowledge the great efforts of Phil Handwork, our Director of Institutional Research, who's been so ably leading that process. We are a university that defines its identity by a set of creative tensions. So often when we think of Wake Forest, I think we have to say both and rather than either or. There's another important middle way that we have pursued. In our increasingly polarized culture, we have attempted to set a path that respects progressive and conservative values. On the one hand, we have made progress in diversity and inclusion and expanding our financial aid for students with need. And we have many programs and projects that allow liberal members of the community to express their convictions. On the other hand, we have spoken openly about character, vocation, faith, and purpose. In doing so, we have been true, I think, to ourselves as Wake Forest, and we have in large measure sustained the loyalty of conservatives and progressives on our board, among our alumni, among our faculty, staff, and students. I think we have been able to strike a balance in keeping true to who we are as an institution, and with the goal of becoming an ever better community in which conversations thrive among people who may be very different. So let me turn to the future. What about the future? First, I think this is a tremendous time of opportunity. At a time when many are saying that traditional colleges are in trouble, I think we have never been in a stronger position. Student interest has never been more robust, and we have the opportunity to expand that level of interest. We have a stable foundation on which to build. Our level of ambition is high. We have a strong, energetic, and collaborative team that I think can take on big goals and projects. We have great deans in place who can advance their respective schools. We have a great faculty deeply committed to this place and to our students. I think as a community, we have developed a common sense of who we are, what our core identity is. And in comparative perspective, I think we are not casting about for an identity. We have built a modern development and communications team, and the Wake Will campaign is going remarkably well. To this date, we have raised over $520 million, and that's 2 years ahead of projected schedule. We are thinking much more expansively about Wake Forest, what we do in Charlotte, and in other places, what we may do in Washington, D.C., in Silicon Valley, and in international locations. We have done much to renew our campus and have begun to take on the huge challenge of remodeling buildings built in the 1950s. We've become much more financially disciplined, and for the first time are trying to build new streams of income from non-traditional programs. And the next year it is likely that we will begin a College of Professional Studies, which will offer quality programs, many of them in Charlotte, and online courses to non-traditional students. The goal is to build viable, quality programs that serve a selective audience, and to do so in ways that bring some revenue back to this campus to support our core mission. So there's a lot that says this is our time, a distinct moment to think big, to move forward. At the same time, I think you could say it's a time of urgency. This is no time to rest on our laurels. I'm convinced that we need to be hungrier, less content, more innovative than ever. We have not arrived by any means. I think we need to stay nervous and to drive innovation. Why is this? We are now playing in the big leagues, but without big league support. We have a rare and in some ways untested identity, the collegiate university. We are not a research university pure and simple. We are not a liberal arts college. We are still in the transitional phase between a largely regional institution to a national one. And in many American communities with great schools and smart students, we are still largely unknown. We have become well-known in certain markets, but quite unknown in others. Our professional schools generally are not top 25, an aspiration that all of us should definitely own. In other ways, we are an ambivalent institution, innovative in some sectors, very conventional in others. This is a campus that owns Farrell Hall, but also Reynolds Gym, Salem Hall, and Scales Fine Arts Centers, buildings that seriously need to be refreshed. And in some ways, those buildings are a metaphor of who we are. In some sectors, we are hungry to advance, and others, deeply satisfied and even resistant to change. We must also become more efficient and work to reduce the rate of tuition increases. The cost of going to Wake Forest today, almost $65,000 annually, is prohibitive for a majority of American families and is an issue that we cannot ignore. Increasingly, we will have to innovate and invest by reallocation, developing new programs as we curtail programs that are less compelling. This is very difficult to do in an academic community, but it is essential that we try to balance innovation with financial discipline. But this is a time for innovation. I want to add a word about one specific initiative and then talk about how all of us approach the future. With the approval of the Board of Trustees, the university is exploring the creation of a set of undergraduate programs in biomedical science and engineering to be located in Innovation Quarter, in a building that is adjoined to the new home for the Wake Forest School of Medicine. I'm deeply grateful to all the faculty and staff who have been working tirelessly over the last 6 months on these matters, particularly Professor Rebecca Alexander, who's coordinating the faculty efforts, and to Emily Neese, Associate Vice President for Strategy and Operations, who is coordinating issues of building design and so many other complicated issues related to a potential new campus for undergraduate students. I'm also deeply grateful to the medical school and John McConnell and Ed Abraham for their wonderful cooperation in these ventures. I think there are at least 3 strategic reasons why we've chosen to take hold of this opportunity. This set of programs offers Wake Forest undergraduates the opportunity to focus on biomedical science and technology, the most cutting-edge and dynamic field of study in contemporary society. This move will also enable Wake Forest to attract a range of outstanding STEM students who have historically not applied to Wake Forest. Secondly, these programs will, for the first time, bring the Renewal campus and the medical school into durable, authentic, programmatic collaboration. We have the opportunity to leverage this tremendous resource on behalf of our undergraduate students. Final strategic reason for these programs is that because of the very significant tax credits available for repurposing these old tobacco factories, we can build gleaming new laboratories and classrooms at almost half the cost of building new structures. There is much to be done in the design and approval of these new programs, but I am delighted that we're working together to build in this innovative way, and I think it will be a tremendous asset to all of Wake Forest. Moving undergraduate programs into Innovation Quarter is the most significant initiative we are undertaking, but there are many other challenges. What I look forward to in coming years are the new ideas, fresh approaches, the improved quality that will be generated throughout our community. It is this spirit of ongoing innovation that I find inspiring about Wake Forest. To that end, let me encourage all of us, faculty, staff, and students alike, to bring an innovative mindset to our endeavors. I trust that this spirit, which I see so alive at Wake Forest, can become an ever-rising tide. It does involve a firm commitment and insistence that this place become better and better. So how should we approach the future? Let me conclude with 4 concepts. The first is talent. Our approach to the future means a relentless search for talent to bring the most able and committed people to Wake Forest in every sector of the university, and then see them develop as they are here. Our mission is always to find that kind of talent, hiring people better than ourselves. We need more talent. We will always need more talent injected into the veins of the organization. Talent of the right kind, committed to the mission, not just themselves, but talent nonetheless. And we need to recognize talent where it is, reward it, and nurture it. Secondly, self-examination. It also means that we must engage in vigorous self-examination and the courage for honest self-assessment. Would that we would reward colleagues for admitting weaknesses rather than always claiming strength. Ed Berger, who taught math for many years at Williams, based 10% of the grade in his classes on the quality of failure. He noted, you learn by making mistakes, by admitting weaknesses, which then you have the power to correct. We need to be able better to smell stale air, to be honest about mediocrity, and to consistently be willing to change for the better. Thirdly, benchmarking. We also need the courage to benchmark what we do against the external environment in higher education. If we are just internally focused, looking at our own progress, we may be content. We may not realize that our neighbors actually may have gone twice as far, or they may have looked at the same problem with a far more creative solution than our own. Finally, what I call dreaming. We need to dream, to imagine, to take risks, to look for fresh opportunities and take hold of them. I will conclude today by taking note of a study that found a common theme among universities that were particularly successful. The common characteristic was this: they were opportunity conscious. They had a sixth sense about opportunities, this author said. They were ready to open the door almost before the knock was heard. Universities, someone has said, can do a lot worse than to take as part of their mission the encouragement of intellectual entrepreneurship. At a place like Wake Forest, where as a collegiate university, we live in a certain middle ground and where repeatedly our reach seems to exceed our financial grasp, I do think the path of innovation, of being opportunity conscious, should be our watchword for the future. As we look ahead, I ask you to join me in scanning the horizon for fresh ways to fulfill the compelling mission that we all share. Then, brick by brick, plank by plank, Let's build a Wake Forest that 10 years from now will be better, far better than it is today. Thank you.